All right, Nikolai Kovalenko has touched down in Denver. Now what do you do with him? Let's talk about it. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
Your Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. Make sure you are following us on social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, X, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram and Threads. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And make sure you're following us over on YouTube. Hit subscribe to get notified when a new show goes live. Make sure you are subscribed to our subtext as well. Link to that is in the show notes below. And when you do, we get your opinions on everything Avalanche related, which we share on this very podcast, like we will do a little bit later on when we might have an NHL reality show in the mix here next season. We'll get into that. We'll get all the details of that a little bit later. But where we're going to start, Kyle, is with Nikolai Kovalenko, the prospect that Avalanche fans have been waiting for. And he has finally made the trip from Russia to the United States in Denver. And about 3 weeks ago, I think it was not so much clear what they would do with him, but you were waiting for him because he was going to slide right in. Pretty much, you would think. He's got to get his feet wet, and he'd be on a bottom six role. But now with the trade deadline, it's kind of gotten murky on with how well the trade deadline has gone and how well the Avalanche have been playing since then. Now it's like, okay, now it's a big question mark on where exactly what you do with him or where you slide him in. I still think the Avalanche are going to do that just to get him some time. But what are your thoughts right now? Because it's still exciting, but it's like it's a big question mark now. As it's not as easy as it was 2-3 weeks ago.
And with Kovalenko, I feel like the Avalanche approach to this, and I feel like the smart way to introduce him to the NHL, because he's coming from the KHL. For everybody that just a little bit of background on him, he's coming from the KHL, and he's typically plays right wing. So I would bring him in and treat him like Ben Myers. I would play him up until that garbage time, like when Ben Myers when Landy went and picked him up at the airport, that wonderful story. And Ben Myers, right, when it was just that garbage time of the season, look around, we're there. And I would just let him play it out and then let him get acclimated, and that's it.
Well, I would not say it's the garbage time of the season.
Well,
don't say that.
It's not so much. There is an importance of this part of the season, right, but we're in what he contributes now. He's not going to earn a playoff spot.
Yeah, and I think that just goes to what I was saying before is of what the Avalanche have done since the trade deadline. You want to continue to ride that, right? So you don't want to upset too much of what's going on right now. And it's going to, I agree with you. I think that they want to get him a couple reps, get him a couple games. And the Ben Myers thing is exactly what I was thinking about. Same exact thing. Get him in there, end of the year. And then, you have much more of a place for him next year. How we were saying like 3 weeks ago, it was a little bit more clear for this year. Now it's not, but next year still is. Next year still pretty clear on what you plan on doing with him, because you can kind of guess some guys that are not going to be there next year, and he's got an opportunity starting next year. But fans are, and I think the Avalanche are as well, itching to just see what he can do. So you give him a couple games, but you're like it's kind of up to the Avalanche of how do we want to play this based on we still got to win these games. Yeah. These games are still important. So you want to get him some time, but also win at the same breath. And you don't know what he's got. right now, this early in his NHL career, which right now is non-existent. So putting him in there, what are you expecting time wise for him on the ice? I mean, you want to put him out there for 4 minutes because then you're back to what you were doing pre-deadline. How things are going right now are just perfect, and where they are at is just perfect. And I'm not saying he's just going to come in and just screw that up and blow it up, but he's raw. He's never touched a second of NHL ice. So it's a big question mark as to, I don't think, I mean, you get a couple games out of him and who the heck knows? My thinking is it's going to be rough for him in the beginning, just like it would be for any other rookie. But maybe he's the opposite. Maybe he's that guy we were talking about when Logan Stankoven came up for Dallas. And how we were talking about why can't we get that guy? Why can't we get that lightning in a bottle guy that just comes up and exceeds expectations immediately? Maybe he's that, and you just continue to ride this wave that you've been on since the trade deadline.
Well, I would love that story to be true. I would love that for the Avalanche. That would be an incredible thing to build around. But last time we seen Kovalenko, we were all kind of sad and depressed because when he went down in his final game, and you didn't know the injury concerns. And by the way, the KHL, that's a larger sheet of ice.
It is.
So he's going to adjust to the NHL size of the rink and the speed because it's a different game. And honestly, you mentioned his minutes. I don't think there is a problem putting him on that fourth line and let him average between 5 to 9 minutes a night.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't be horrible. Wouldn't be horrible. But you mentioned the Ben Myers one. If I'm not mistaken, didn't they Ben Myers' first game? Didn't they throw him on like the second line? If someone wants to look that up, I'm almost positive they did. They did the same with Sampo Ranta. When they brought him in, I don't know if he was second line. He might have been third line or something like that. I know, right? Blast from the past.
My boy.
But I'm almost positive they just threw Ben Myers, right into the fire, which is good. I think that there's nothing wrong with that. But you're not going to do that now with Kovalenko. No. You know what I mean? Like, because you have Casey Middlestat, who's still getting acclimated to everything. You're not going to go do that right now and screw all this up. So where it go, like who he replaces, it could be. I don't know. Maybe Cogliano. Yeah, I think
that's
and
the
it's
easy
not,
one.
Well, and it's not because he's playing poorly. It's just, hey, take some time. Yep. You're obviously one of our veterans. You're one of our older veterans. We'll need you for the playoffs. You know how we always say, oh, you got to rest your goalies and stuff like this. Rest somebody like him. Maybe Zach Parise, who was injured not that long ago. Maybe there's still something lingering around in that leg injury that he had. It's going to be stuff like that. He's going to replace somebody for a couple games just to give somebody else, like those two guys, just a little bit of a breather. Not that they've done anything wrong. Just take some time, you guys. We're going to need you for a playoff run.
The way we were talking about Sam Malinsky and Jack Johnson is the same way we're talking about Cogliano. It's nothing about their play because they're vital and they are role players on this team. You need them to take a little bit of a break because, hey, you are going to be part of this playoff roster for what you bring to this team. Kovalenko, we're still figuring things out. Let him sit in your spot, do the veteran move, sit back, enjoy this little bit, watch the team, try and make some ground and capture that central. You got us to this point. Now sit back and relax. We'll catch you in the playoffs. I don't think Cogliano would mind that at all.
No, I don't think he would. So he's not going to be playing against St. Louis. He's not like he met up with the team on the road. So he's in Denver waiting for them to come back. And then
enjoying the weather.
Yeah, right. And possibly he's used to it. Russian, come on, he's used to that.
True.
The cold. So it's a possibility that this starts for him on Friday, 22nd. So we shall see. We'll probably get more of an update after this St. Louis game, which we will talk about next. Avs look to finish off this road trip. Win or lose, it's successful. If you lose this thing, you've taken 3 out of 4, which is fine. But it's St. Louis. Come on, let's finish this thing off and get all 8 points socked away into the point column for the Avs. All right, let's talk about that game and then some more coming up next. First, let's hear from Sleeper, and Kyle continues to scour the internets and try to find a daily fantasy app. He's going through Stick'em notes right there, and he's got no. Have you found any yet, Kyle, that are better for daily fantasy sports than Sleeper?
It's blank. You can't find anything better.
So we want to remind you that you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. And Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports, especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. And this is where I come to you, sir, to give us your pick for who your Sleeper player of the game should be for the Avs and Blues. Who's that?
I believe this is going to be a Casey Middlestat game.
Whoa, I love it. Throw it out there. Why not? Come on now. I think he's been playing great, but is this, all these new players sometimes they look at those breakout games, you want to call them.
He's going to a whole nother level in this game.
All you have to do is pick whether
Sean Walker-esque.
Yeah. Sean Walker had his moment. Now Casey Middlestat's time. I like it. All you have to do is pick whether studs like Casey Middlestat will record more or less than their Sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more in a given game. So use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That code again is LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. All right, before we get back to Avalanche talk, as you know, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel, and Locked On Sports Today. And baseball fans, mark your calendar for March 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern for the best MLB season preview, coming exclusively to Locked On Sports Today. That's March 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern. Be the first to get local insight from Major League Baseball local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Once again, find it March 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. So definitely go check that out. Don't want to miss that. All right, Avs looking to complete this sweep for the road, the 4-game roadie ends in St. Louis, and this could be a. You don't know with St. Louis right now. They're a streaky team. They're still in the thick of things. So I think you're going to get, their best effort. I'm sure we will see good old pal, Jordan Binnington, in this one, which you always love to stick it to him when he's in net. So what's your thoughts on this game? I hate using, I never like the trap game. And I'm not saying that this is because I don't really, I'll say this. I don't really believe in trap games. I know people like to use the term. I don't really believe in it. I think, hockey players and athletes at the pro level get up for every single game. And this is a division game. You should not be taking division rivals lightly. I think it'll be a fun game. What do you think?
Remember the 11th of November when the Blues destroyed the Avalanche 8-2.
They did.
And don't look now, but the Blues have won 4 straight.
Mm-hmm.
But the Colorado Avalanche have won 6 straight. And you know what will happen when the Avalanche, if they are able to defeat the Blues, this will be the longest winning streak of the year for the Colorado Avalanche. They started off the season winning 6 in a row. They're currently sitting on 6.
Yep.
And they're on the road. So this is a lot of positive things to build here for the Avalanche. If the Blues manage to win 5 in a row, they will split the season series with the Colorado Avalanche and get a little momentum. To what we were saying yesterday, are we rooting for the Blues or the Wild? This is what are we doing here? You got the best of both. The Avalanche need this game, and it's easy to kind of look at it and say, oh, it's the Blues. We have success. They also have success on you. And they are also pushing for a spot. So this is not a game to rest, relax, because they are going to be giving you their best effort.
Yeah, I mean, it's meaningful for both of these teams, right? I mean, obviously the Blues are trying to get they have to leapfrog, I believe, Minnesota. Right now, I'm getting to the standings for the wild card. Yeah, they are. Where the heck are they? They're one above Minnesota, actually. Okay, so that's updated. So they have 75 points. Minnesota's got 74, so they're a point up on them. And they're looking at Vegas right now. Vegas is at 79, and Vegas has a game in hand on both St. Louis and Minnesota. So just from that standpoint, like you're the first team out right now if you're St. Louis. So you need to keep the pressure on the teams below you and above you to keep winning. And for the Avalanche, you're in a three-way tie right now in terms of points with the Jets and the Stars. And that has been exciting all season long, that these three teams just continue to just do this intertwining of the the standings. And right now they're all sitting at 91 points. Yes, they all have a game in hand on each other, right? So Winnipeg has got a game in hand on the Avalanche, and the Avalanche have a game in hand on Dallas. So Winnipeg has two games in hand on Dallas, but they're all at 91. So, and again, this goes back to the whole Kovalenko thing and how the Avalanche want to handle it. And the same for the standings. How much do you care of winning your fourth straight division championship? I think they care. I don't think they just want to skate through this and just say, like, yeah, just get us into the playoffs. There's a big difference on who you would play if you're number one, obviously, or second in your division. But you have new guys on the team that you want to get them into the winning habits and winning ways. So no, I just don't think I'm just going to skate through and be like, if we don't win, no big deal. It's going to suck if you win. It always sucks if you win, or if you don't win, I should say. I'm sorry.
And this is a game that you need to keep everything rolling. Like the Avalanche, they're sitting with the seventh best power play. You got St. Louis with 25th. You're the number one goal scoring team in the league.
Yeah.
Like you're looking at the stats, like St. Louis is 26th when it comes to goal scoring. Statistically, this is an Avalanche game to win. And with everybody getting hot, like we talk about how much we love these new additions and how incredible they just plug into this roster. You haven't had them that long. And you need to keep this going and build some momentum into the playoffs. You don't want to teach them what it was like losing games before they became members of the team. And that's a disappointing loss, but we'll get them on the next one. No, they need to keep pushing and keep building. And honestly, you don't want St. Louis getting hot because luck of the draw. What if that's one of the teams that you pull?
Yeah.
And you don't want that in the playoffs. You don't want a hot Blues team because just a couple weeks ago they beat you another 8-2 game. You need to keep this rolling because you need that positioning. And you know what? This team needs to win the Central. You need that little feather in your cap going into the playoffs. You need everything you can.
Yeah, I mean the way, sure. St. Louis is playing well. Okay, right? What, 4-game winning streak? Okay, and like you said, Avalanche were the 6th game, which is the best in the league right now. And the way that the Avs are playing, we were saying not that long ago, you didn't really know what you were getting with an Avalanche team. They could looking like the best team in the league, or they'd go in and just lay a dud. At least for these past handful of games, they're looking like a solid team again. So you look at kind of like the metrics, and you were throwing out penalty kill, and the Blues struggle to score. They give up a lot of goals. It wouldn't surprise me if the Avs go in there and if they continue to play like they have been playing, dominate this game. Everything is there for them to dominate this game, and it would not surprise me if they can hang 6 up on Binnington. Wouldn't surprise me. And if you get good goaltending on your end, this could be a comfortable win. And I have not said that. I don't think maybe one other time when they were playing the Capitals. Yeah. I think I felt like that was going to be a comfortable win. But outside of that, you didn't know what you were getting into each game. But I'm confident right now in this Avalanche team and how that they've been playing. And you look at, like I said, the numbers with the Blues, they can't keep people out of the net. And the Avalanche score at will sometimes. So this hopefully, you never know with hockey because it's a random game. But I'm going into this pretty confident that the Avs can kind of roll over the Blues, I would hope.
And I kind of hope it is Binnington in net, because it doesn't matter if you came from Philadelphia, if you came from Minnesota, or if you came from Buffalo. You all have beef with Jordan Binnington. And
Of
if
course.
you get one goal by him, you're going to keep it going. And everybody, it doesn't matter if the Avalanche rivalry with the Blues, everybody has some kind of argument with Jordan Binnington. And it's always fun to beat Jordan Binnington.
And this won't be the last time we mention Jordan Binnington on this episode. A new NHL reality show could potentially be coming to Amazon next season. Who do we want to see in it? We will discuss coming up next. All right. Today's episode is brought to you by Robinhood. And did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? With Robinhood, it has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024 validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker dealer. All right, sir. So last bit of thing we want to get into. The NHL didn't officially announce this, but you got some insiders kind of talking about it. And there could be a NHL series coming to Amazon. And I don't know if it's going to be within that. Amazon has a lot of these shows called All or Nothing. And the Maple Leafs were on it 1 year. It's all one season of a team, and it's not just hockey. They've done University of Michigan football. They've done a rugby team, which was that was fantastic. There's other ones that they've done NFL teams. I know that.
Yeah.
I think they did the Chargers for them. I don't know why that's sticking out there, but it's basically Hard Knocks. It's Amazon's version of Hard Knocks, and the stories that have been coming out is that the NHL is thinking of doing something like this, but instead of following one specific team, they're going to follow players. Could be up to 12 different players, and the cameras are there and just following them through daily life. And I think this could be good. I think this would be a really good idea, a fun idea, because NHL players don't get out there. They don't put themselves out there too much. They're kind of very bland on social media. They don't do a ton out there. They interact with fans, but not to the extent that you see other sports doing it. So just to get kind of like peek behind the curtain type of thing, I think this could be really good for the league to kind of do something like this. Would it not be?
I think this is a brilliant idea. If done right.
Mhm.
If you do it, if you select the wrong guys and the wrong names and you display it the wrong way, it's one of those that can hurt the league. But if it's done right, I think this could be a turning point in the popularity for the league, because you saw what these kind of shows do to F1
Yeah.
and golf
Well,
and
everything.
this.
I mean,
Yes.
people want content. They want
Yes.
content. They want to feel more connected to these players. And yeah, it doesn't matter. F1's a great example. That show on Netflix is huge. And people don't even watch the F1 races will watch that series.
Yep.
Because it's just entertaining. So who do you think? Who are some guys that you feel could be entertainment value? Avalanche players or non-Avalanche players? We can have to just bottleneck this into the Avalanche guys. But if you want to start with them, feel free. Who do you think? Throw some names out.
I'm going to throw, and just the way I would pitch it, you would have like groups that you would follow around, and have the
Mhm.
storylines working there, I'd start with the Hughes brothers, Jack and Quinn.
Um, well, and then there's the third one too.
Yeah, you can introduce Logan.
Yeah, no, I don't remember his name. I'm blanking on it. Is it Logan? I don't think. Whatever.
He's a devil.
Um, yeah, but the thing, like, so if they're having 12 guys
Mm-hmm.
and you have all three Hughes brothers, and that's one guy. That counts as one guy.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have three of them, soaked up by the Hughes brothers alone. But it would be fun. I think that would be a good dynamic. You really get three different teams. Well, two different teams. Yeah, because you're right, two of them play for the Devils. But it's a hockey family. That wouldn't be a bad one at all.
And it's the youth, just like what it's like being in a hockey family with eyeballs on you. Like, you are the face of the Devils and honestly one of the faces of the Canucks. It'd be a good look at how they balance it and still keep the family dynamic going. I think it'd be interesting.
I think so. As far as Avalanche players go, because he just doesn't. It's not like that. I'm trying to move in on his privacy or anything like that. But Valenchuskin, he doesn't talk to the media. He's very secretive. I don't want to take away from his privacy or anything like that. And he wouldn't do it. But I think it would be just interesting to see what this guy does on a daily basis, because he's just a big unknown. You have no idea what's going on with Valenchuskin outside of the ice. That's the only reason why. But
that would be that's interesting. That'd be your Avalanche guy to pull from the top. And
yeah,
I think mine's not your normal, would be your go-to answer. But wouldn't it not be Cale Makar?
I think we follow him so much. I don't feel like there's I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it would be interesting. I don't want to say it wouldn't be interesting. I think it'd be fine, but we just know so much about him.
I'd rather see Jared Bednar than I would Nathan MacKinnon.
See, a coach would be cool. I think they should do that and mix in a coach with if you're going to have 12 players, or have 11 players and a coach. That would be cool. So if it's Bednar or not, I think it'd just be fun to see their dynamic of it, and how it's completely different what they do on a day-to-day basis than players. I agree with you there. That would be fun.
That's my kind way of saying Nathan MacKinnon would be the last person I would pick for a reality show.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you on that. Yeah. As far as other Avalanche players, I think Ross Colton would be fun, just because he just seems like he's a happy-go-lucky guy, fun-loving guy. Just want to see what that guy does on day-to-day. I feel like I could be good friends with Ross Colton. I feel like he's got a little bit of nerd in him. We could talk about Star Wars. I think he'd be fun.
If using the sports production in mind, if I would have had my camera crew on Georgiev this year from beginning to end, that would have been a fascinating look into the mind of a goalie going through this season and trying to make himself a 1A somewhere, especially with his backstory. Oh, you could drama that up all day long.
That'd be a good one. As far as non-Avalanche players, I think I would almost want to go in a couple different directions here. One is kind of follow players that I kind of despise and don't like, because maybe I'll dislike them a little bit less if I really follow, because all I really dislike them for is how they act on the ice, right? Guys like Brad Marchand, obviously, Tom Wilson, obviously, guys like that. You dislike them for the stuff that the goonery that they do on the ice, but off the ice, they're probably fine guys. They're probably family men. They probably do a lot for the community. And if I can see that side of it more, which I probably, if I really wanted to go out and find all that stuff on my own, I could, but I choose not to. I choose to hold grudges. I choose to continue to dislike them based on their hockey play alone and nothing else, which is totally not what you should do. That's not human nature to do that. But I wouldn't be against that. I wouldn't be against seeing guys that how they play on the ice is completely different than their daily lives. And those are two guys that stick out. Like Jacob Trouba is another one. Trouba, like people just cannot stand that guy on the ice. Off the ice, you should see some of the humanitarian stuff that guy does.
Yeah.
It might change your mind on him off the ice.
It wouldn't be bad. I know he's overplayed to the millionth degree, but we talked about like your pairs, have Robo and Bedard over here, and Sid and Ovi over here.
Mm-hmm.
It just their day to day. You get the comparison of the two, and then you have your current NHL guys like your Avalanche players. You could do Zegras, you could do Nas. You have your new
Mm-hmm.
guys, the current, and the end of a generation type players.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, that'd be a good way to kind of promote that. Those episodes would be cool. You get a little bit of each generation in each episode, the beginning, the middle, and the end. That'd be a great way to do it. And the last, two other ones that I thought of was somebody in Arizona. Doesn't matter who.
Ooh, yeah.
Just to see like behind the scenes on what's going on with that team, everything about them, just the rebuild, the issues that they're having, just maybe staying in Arizona is kind of a story in and of itself. How is a player handling that? That would be kind of just fun to watch. And then you mentioned Bedard, and I think they're totally going that direction with somebody like him, but a prospect that's not him. A prospect that's trying to not trying to break in, like a highly touted prospect that maybe this offseason is when he's making the transition from college to the pro level and following him. And I got Ryan Leonard on my mind because I know his family. So I would love to see that because they probably would make the episodes. But he's a perfect example of that. A guy that's like coming, he probably will be playing with them next year in Washington. And that would be fun. Like, I don't need to see Connor Bedard behind the scenes. Like, give me somebody else that is not the household name yet, but you're seeing that transition from going from college to pro. I think that would be, a lot of people would really be interested in that.
And add all of that. Your before, your next generation, current, the end, and then throw in Ryan Nugent Hopkins in there and Johnny Hockey on the forgotten stories, like the land of misfit toys. Like, you guys, you were touted to be something and you're not. What are you doing, and what's your day to day like?
Be interesting. Be really interesting. And then of course Shane Gostisbehere, just because he's awesome. So we'll get that one too.
And then Zegras, nothing but Zegras.
Yeah, you got the Zegras one. All right. Subtext people weighed in on this. Joe, that would be super interesting for the show. Marchand, for sure, would be a fun guy to follow. I'd also love to see how weird some of the goalies are. Not sure which ad would be best to follow. Maybe Miko is what he says. So,
oh yeah,
that'd be interesting. Tanya, too bad they didn't do this years ago. My immediate answer is the Stasny family. That would have been awesome. But active players for the Avalanche, McKinnon, because I'd love to see the reality of his routine. That would be interesting. He's not very interesting. His personality is not very interesting. But yeah, his routine, his regimen, that would be, make us all feel so inadequate and just, man, I'm doing nothing with my life. Well, this guy day in and day out is just, killing it. Non-Avalanche players, Marc-Andre Fleury, because he's always entertaining.
Perfect.
That would be a good one. Yep. That would be a very, very good one. I agree. Easton, I think it'd be cool if they did non-North American players and see how they adapt to navigate around the U.S., not being from here or speaking English as a first language.
Absolutely brilliant idea. We hear about the flip side in American players going to Canada and why it's not fun to play in Canada. Hearing the reverse, I love that idea.
Great idea. Very, very good idea. Amy, I think this would be so fun, but I'm not convinced these guys aren't completely boring off the ice. I think they'd have to pick the Hughes brothers. There you go. The Kachuk brothers.
Ooh.
That could be a good, there you go. Talking about guys that people despise. That's a very good one. They would be fun. For the Avs, I think we'd all be curious to follow Nate in hopes that he's not a robot.
I'm just terrified that he is.
I know. We got Vargar here. He would do Marc-Andre Fleury David Pastrnak, Brad Marchand, Canuck brothers. Obviously, you need someone who looks good on camera, and that's Gabe Landeskog.
Ooh, yeah.
And he's predicting what Amazon's going to do, and he's probably right here. Bedard, McDavid, Crosby, Hughes brothers.
Yeah.
They're gonna go for the names, and they shouldn't. If you got to mix it up. If you have 12 guys that you're going to do, you have to mix it up. You can't just go with the big names, because I think it'll draw interest to see, see what Crosby doing, but see what that third round pick that's trying to break in is doing as well. I think it'd be just as interesting.
Yeah, they'll pull Austin Matthews in there too.
Probably, yeah. And finally, Kyle, not this one, slightly different take, but I'd love to look behind the curtain with Sakic and McFarland to see the inner workings of the front office. He's right there.
I would pay $40 a month for that episode.
Go watch that Maple Leafs one, the All or Nothing Maple Leafs one. You get a ton of that in there when Kyle Dubas was the GM. He's right. Like, that's another one that you would throw in there. You could do on ice, behind the bench, in the front office, and do all three of those things for this series. I hope it's not just one season. This could really open up a lot of different things for the league and seeing what really goes on behind the scenes at all different levels. And then as the more you get into it, you could do scouts. You could follow scouts around and see, like, and prospects in the draft. And like, it's to just go on and on. But NHL seems like they're finally tapping into the reality world, and it's many, many years too late, if you ask me.
Yes. Somebody apparently pushed this through without telling Bettman, and I applaud that effort.
Yes, whoever that is, give yourself a raise. Bettman won't mind. All right, that is going to wrap it up for today, everyone. We will be back tomorrow to discuss this game against the St. Louis Blues and anything else that goes on Avalanche related. Until then, thank you for tuning in, making this your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys tomorrow.